Your brand new iPhone deserves the best protection, and the iLune 3-Pack Screen Protector Plus 3-Pack Camera Lens Protector has you covered. Don't take risks with your iPhone. Click the link in the video description to shop now on Amazon.
I've been stalked by Putin's drones and seen bodies piled up on Frontline. Horrors of war will haunt us for decades to come. As they are stalked by Russian drones, medics on Ukraine's frontline desperately try to save wounded soldiers while avoiding becoming targets themselves. Natalie Vlasenko left her beloved city of Odessa, where she was a tour guide and ballerina, to run towards the fighting when Vladimir Putin invaded in 2022. Proudly wearing her black long-sleeved top emblazoned with the Ukrainian trident, a symbol of independence, Natalie is ready for action at a moment's notice as an interpreter and operations manager for frontline medics. No day is the same, and she often notes how it rarely begins with a cup of coffee. Instead, she plays witness to amputations and war crimes. Natalie and her team of medics are forced to evade enemy fire, as Russia specifically targets those trying to save the injured. For 3 years, she has watched on as people's lives are reduced to ID numbers on black body bags. Working in medical logistics on the front lines means she witnesses when new weapons and tactics are deployed to the battlefields firsthand. At the beginning of the war, injuries were often caused by explosions and missiles, but now a new threat lingers, and it's not only soldiers being targeted. Natalie told The Sun, "The biggest threat at the front line are the drones because it's not only reconnaissance drones, but drones which drop grenades or rockets or explosives. They can drop anything, and with these explosives or pieces of shrapnel, the soldiers can get injuries. This is the biggest cause of injury." But the medics also have reason to fear the drones as Putin's troops target their ambulances, stalking them as they work to save the lives of soldiers. "I know from my own experience and experiences of colleagues that if you have a red cross on your car, it doesn't guarantee that you will be untouched and nobody will target your ambulance," she said. "My colleagues told me they were just flying after or very close to their ambulance or vehicle. When I was in the Donetsk region, the chief doctor took me to the yard next to the hospital, and there were dozens of ambulances, not camouflaged, but white ambulances with red crosses, and they were all destroyed. It was the result of missile attacks or drone attacks. I also have colleagues working for hospitallers and other medical NGOs which were the victims of attacks." When she first came to the front line as a fixer for a journalist, Natalie's colleagues reporting on the news of the war were injured in Zaporizhia. They were in the car with the sign press, so everything was visible, but there was a drone which was following them, she said. "It's good they ran away from the car, because if they stayed a few seconds more, they would be killed because of the drone." Despite the dangers, Natalie and her frontline medics colleagues hunker down for the night just 3 miles away from the fighting at stabilization units, known as stab points. The medics stay in blindage, makeshift underground bunkers built with sandbags, wood, and mud, waiting to be called over the radio by injured soldiers at the front. Many soldiers are really tired. Many of them are burned out, especially those who are fighting from the first days of the war. But most of them, they want to fight until the end. During the day, you sleep in this blindage on a not super comfortable bed, and the toilet is outside, so you have to go out at night when it's dark and use a hole in the ground as a toilet, Natalie explained. When the team is called, the medics scramble from the underground bunkers into vehicles, sometimes armored and sometimes not, equipped medical supplies to evacuate the casualties back to the stab point. So it's just a line of evacuation, like casevac, medevac, stabilization point, and then hospital treatment, Natalie said. But they have to be ready to go at any given moment, with little knowledge of what they will encounter. You never know what will be tomorrow. You may make a plan, but tomorrow some explosion will happen or something will change in the situation at the front line, she said. Despite troops and medics being tired and burned out, the fire to keep defending their nation continues to burn. It's immensely hard and painful to see killed soldiers, delivered in black packages, turning into another body with an identification number, she said. You ask Soliders questions, how they feel and they're like, "I'm fine, I'm okay. I want to come back to the front line, to my guys, to my comrades." Even when they're in the hospital or in stab points, I remember some of them asking, "How soon can I come back to my guys? I want to do something." Many soldiers are really tired. Many of them are burned out, especially those who are fighting from the first days of the war. But most of them, they don't want to give away our lands for free. They want to fight until the end. As the world hopes to start looking beyond the conflict, Natalie is already preparing, with hopes to work in the mental and physical rehabilitation of soldiers and other frontline personnel. It will be complicated for them, she admitted, when everyone has to adapt to civilian life. Natalie, who has been documenting the realities of the frontline on Instagram, has shared how cats have become key in providing some mental support to medics and troops. Some images show wounded soldiers still covered in dirt and blood, with small kittens perched in their uniformed laps in a desperate bid to give them some comfort from the bloodshed. Sharing a photo of herself cradling a cat, Natalie wrote, "My anti-stress is at the stab point. Today is a terrible day and all the news, just a black hole inside and some numbness." As politicians get swept up in peace talks and territory negotiations, Natalie has resorted to keeping her head down and carrying on. By Ayanna Cleve. Ukraine has become increasingly reliant on first-person view (FPV), drones, nimble, target-seeking, kamikaze unmanned aerial vehicles (UAVs). Since early 2023, the cheap, explosive flying machines have become one of Kiev's biggest success stories after its military ran perilously short on munitions due to long-stalled Western weapon shipments. The attack UAVs have come to define the conflict, helped by constant streams of footage filmed onboard as they tail troops, blast Russian positions, or smash into tanks worth millions with ruthless precision. The potent quadcopters cost around £300, are largely made from off-the-shelf pieces of kit, and as demand soars, an army of civilians are helping to assemble them in their homes. Some are fitted with grenades or Humboldt bombs. Others are used for reconnaissance missions to identify enemy positions and guide artillery fire. Now, almost every fighting brigade in Ukraine has an assault drone company. With the 600-mile front frozen in hellish trench warfare, the success of FPVs on the battlefield is undeniable, according to the commander of Ukraine's attack drone operations. Over two-thirds of Russian tanks destroyed by Ukraine in 2024 have been taken out using FPV drones, a NATO official told Foreign Policy. Their long-range capabilities also save countless lives, as the drone operator can be stationed away from the front line. And drones are not just used on the battlefield. Both Ukraine and Russia are hitting targets hundreds of miles deep into enemy territory using long-range UAVs. They are highly cost-effective means to blitz factories making weapons, military bases, or energy facilities. And yet, in a constant game of cat and mouse, both sides are developing increasingly sophisticated means of stopping drones using electronic warfare. In response, Russia and Ukraine are racing to develop UAVs guided by AI instead of GPS that can easily be jammed. Ukraine is counting on key allies to help in this mission and to send them more expensive, high-tech drones, but deliveries are not anywhere near the sufficient scale needed. "I just try not to make any forecast, just continue doing my work and what I can do, my input, helping my country, working with my foreign medics," she said. "Just doing what I can do, because I can't influence on the world politics and geopolitics and everything. I was not ready for the war, so I didn't know I would do this kind of work. But I'm glad I can do something good for my country." In the meantime, she has learned to appreciate simple things and urges those lucky enough not to live in a war zone to do the same. She said, "It's things like a shower, electricity, having water all the time, having opportunity to have a cultural life, and to just go and enjoy your cup of coffee without any air raids or explosions." Natalie is sharing her story along with other Ukrainian frontline fighters as part of a wider Ministry of Defense campaign, Frontline of Freedom.